Sometimes you want to watch something that's good, that you know is good. So you watch the tried and true things you know are going to be 100% good. And sometimes you find yourself just stumbling upon something that you don't care too much about. And you put it on, maybe because you're curious, maybe because you're bored, whatever the reason. You can tell when something feels good while you're watching it and when it doesn't. Or it just feels mediocre. So today, we're going to talk about one of those films that is squarely in the mediocre camp. And that film is Eraser Reborn. Let's talk about it. Okay, so stumbled upon this on HBO Max this week. And I had a long day, and I just said, you know what, let's put this on, see what the heck. See, I was a fan of the original 1996 film with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Vanessa Williams and James Coburn, James Caan. I thought it was a solid 90s actioner. So when you come across something like Eraser Reborn, for someone who's seen the original, you're curious about the execution. I was like, oh, let's see what this is about. I knew it wasn't going to be great, because typically when you have these films that are offshoots, reboots of some type, you can tell, I find, almost by the poster. The poster can give it away whether or not the film has a released in theaters type of feel, or is it's direct to DVD, like video on demand type of situation. And this is one of those pictures that feels very much an on-demand situation, like it was produced solely for streaming services, and not necessarily to be premiered in movie theaters. You can just see it on the poster, and when you watch it, you feel that. So what I'm getting at is, the production is good. On the whole, it feels like a cross between something you'd see in the Fast and Furious movies, but almost, independent budget type, not cheap. It just, you can tell the difference. The cinematography is fine. It does have some unique camera things. It has unique things going for it, and as far as the kind of shots it achieves. And the score is sort of passable, for an action movie. But really the thing, I think, the thing to focus on, the thing that really makes or breaks one's enjoyment of the film is the writing and the acting. During my viewing of the film, I felt it was predictable. And if you've seen the original Eraser, you have a blueprint already for this film. It's not slavish in terms of how it pays homage to the original, but there are like, I hadn't seen the original in a long time, but even without that and watching this one, I could feel the original all up in this film. For the most part, it did its own thing. It could have done that better. So, first of all, the main character, he's played by Dominic Sherwood, who I don't know. I haven't seen him in a whole bunch of different things. This is the first time I've actually seen him in anything. And he was passable. He was decent. He's handsome. He's a run-of-the-mill, classically handsome hero, which you would see in a film like this. And I think the script does a disservice to him a little bit, just because of how it's written. He's written more like a stock hero. There's nothing 100% interesting about him. He's not super fascinating. There's not a lot of introspection. There isn't a lot of depth, frankly, and I think that is the there isn't a lot of depth to the whole film. Really, that can be. It's a surface action situation. The only character I think in the film that has room to wiggle and really feels like he's having a little bit of fun is the villain, played by McKinley Beckler. He's the villain. He the curveball with his character is pretty much felt early on. I knew what they were going to do with him. If you've seen the original Eraser, you know what this is. You know what the story is. Even and that bothered me a little bit that I could tell that that's what they were doing with him. I was hoping they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't switch him a little bit. They wouldn't do certain things with him, but they did, and that did disappoint me. But I will say he's the only guy in the film who's having fun. He feels like he's having a lot of fun, really reveling in the role of a villain. He tries to give this character some some real I don't know, some energy, and I think again the script messes him up too, but he does what he can to make it feel fun. At least I got that and everything. And I think if you take nothing else away from this, take away the fact that the villain is probably the most fun character in this film. You have a guy, also Eddie Ramos, who is in this film. I haven't seen him in too many things. I will say that his acting takes a minute to it grows on you after a while, but I was not really a fan. Initially, he felt a little bit out of place at first, but I think after a while, you get used to it. Yes, I have to talk about the main woman in this movie. Jackie Lai. She's the main woman, person of interest, the woman who needs protection in this story. And next to the villain, she is the only other more dynamic character, certainly more than our main marshal. So she's got a lot more to do, a little bit, and she has room to really have some spunk. And in some ways, it feels like the cliched damsel in distress role, and in a lot of ways, it is that. You could see the points where she could be. She could make this work, and I think in some cases she works, but she can't save the story overall. She can't. The action in this movie, which is it's a big part of any action film, are the action sequences, and the films like with that sort of action in it can live or die by how strong or weak the action sequences are. And I think for the most part there's nothing really unique about them. They're okay action sequences, and I think if your acting is middling and the action sequences are middling, the whole film is middling. Whatever, doesn't stand out particularly, and I think that is the case with this movie. There isn't a lot of unique things happening. There's no unique sort of fight choreography. The way action beats are executed, and sometimes the editing is a little bit weird in some of the like logistically in fight sequences, for instance. I'm sure I've mentioned this in another video about fight choreography and how it's captured and how important it is, or how much it helps to see where things are in relation to other things, and things aren't randomly cut to like speed certain things up. And this film does that. There are also some things that are highly not plausible. But again, that goes to show the kind of action movie this is. Sometimes there's a lot of space for things in between things. Someone has a gun on somebody. There's too much talking, and there's a lot of shooting, except in times where you feel like logically there should be a shot. Someone should be shooting someone. It's just, some of it doesn't always make sense. But again, if you don't care and you just want to put on something that's just going to be something you watch, that's one of those one of the blah action movies, then this one's going to do. This will work for you. Obviously, there are stronger action films out there. Heck, I think the original one is far superior to this, and I would recommend the 1996 original, because, and you may think that one's sort of, blah, even, for its time. I think if you compare the two, not that you should do this, but if you did, you would see how much more solid and tight that one is. That one is a tight film, and I think if you watch that one and watch this new one, you can see how because it draws there are certain little pieces of the film that are clear references to the original that feel less like like a tip of the hat, and more it's more like a I don't know, it feels cheap. It felt cheap to me. I didn't appreciate because I knew when I saw them, I was like, oh man, this is the original. This is just basically the original Eraser with different characters, and the settings are different. That's it, which I didn't really like. That bothered me, because I felt like if I wanted that, I could watch the original film. So, but anyway, you be the judge when you watch it. So on the whole, Eraser Reborn, it's not great. It could be a lot worse. But hey, if you're curious about something to put on in the background that you don't care as much about, that you don't really have to pay attention to follow, because you can see the movie from a mile away. You can see the story. It's telegraphed a little bit, so you can kind of tell where it's going. Yeah. So if you don't care about that, check it out. But other than that, I think that's going to do it for me for this review. We're on location right now, but we're going to be back with some more reviews coming up pretty soon. If you've made it this far to the end of this video, thank you for watching. I know there's a ton of other things out there competing for your time and attention, and you could actually do a lot of other things than watching this video. So if you watched it, the fact that you did, I really appreciate that. Come on back. In the meantime, I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you later. Take care.